On January 9th, everything stopped. Free agency deals, expansion talks, and trade negotiations across the WNBA screeched to a halt as the CBA expired, and by January 17th, the freeze had fully calcified. For fans, it seemed like a bureaucratic delay. But behind the scenes, Sophie Cunningham pulled back the curtain. She pointed the finger not at the league office, but at veteran union leaders she claims are stalling progress for personal gain.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Her frustration zeroed in on how players like Caitlyn Clark, whose presence has tripled viewership and revived national interest, are being undercut by internal politics. Cunningham's charge: this isn't just a negotiation. It's sabotage disguised as strategy. While the public narrative centers on economic terms, $10.5 million salary caps versus net revenue deals, the deeper battle is over direction and identity. The generational split Cunningham highlighted reflects a growing clash between legacy values and modern opportunity. The emergence of equity-driven leagues offering $2 million-plus contracts is proof that the market now favors risk-takers. But when WNBA leaders themselves co-found those rival leagues while still leading negotiations, the credibility of the entire process collapses. The conflict is no longer union versus league. It's visionaries versus gatekeepers. And it may cost the WNBA more than just money. The WNBA is at war with itself, and Sophie Cunningham just threw a grenade into the middle of the battlefield. In a league already frozen by labor negotiations and internal dysfunction, Sophie took to her podcast, Show Me Something, and said what most people have only dared to tweet: the people supposedly fighting for progress are actually standing in the way of it. And she didn't sugarcoat a single word. She called the CBA negotiations dumb and accused veteran players, specifically those in the WNBA Players Association, of sabotaging the future. Out of jealousy, out of ego, out of fear of being replaced. And yeah, she named the tension Caitlyn Clark, because that's the real issue nobody in leadership wants to address. The most exciting rookie the WNBA has ever seen is already shifting the league's economic ceiling, tripling viewership, turning sold-out games into the norm, and causing a merchandise frenzy unlike anything women's basketball has ever experienced. And instead of embracing that change, some of the league's most powerful voices are trying to mute it. Cunningham's accusation cuts deep. She's not just talking about media strategy or branding missteps. She's accusing fellow players, union leaders, of using their influence to suppress the rise of new stars. And the timing couldn't be worse. On January 9th, the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement expired. Since then, every trade, signing, and team operation has been frozen. A total shutdown. The moratorium kicked in fully by January 17th, and it hasn't budged since. Coaches can't build their rosters. Agents can't negotiate. Players? Just waiting around in limbo while the two sides argue over whose math makes more sense. The WNBA is demanding a new economic model, 30% of gross league revenue and a $10.5 million salary cap. That would bring WNBA salaries closer to the level of other pro sports, with the top earners able to make up to $2.5 million. The league isn't having it. Their counter? 70% of net revenue, which only comes after deducting operating costs like travel and expansion. The starting salary cap under their model? $5 million. It's not a negotiation, it's a standoff. And in that vacuum, Sophie Cunningham lit the fuse. But her critique wasn't just about money. It was cultural, generational, philosophical. Sophie pointed to a growing split between the players who built the league and the ones now redefining it. And according to her, some of the veteran leaders in the union aren't just resistant to change, they're outright blocking it. Her frustration resonated with fans who've seen the same patterns. Highlight reels that leave out Caitlyn Clark's game winners. Social media posts that downplay her record-breaking nights. And veterans who don't just act cold. They act like they're being forced to acknowledge her at all. It's created an awkward undercurrent. Fans feel it. Broadcasters feel it. Even other players feel it. The old guard, who spent years fighting for visibility, now look uncomfortable sharing it, especially with someone who walked into the league with more fanfare than anyone before her. And Sophie called that out directly. She said the quiet part loud. Some of the union leadership, those responsible for negotiating the new CBA, aren't just negotiating in bad faith. They're clinging to influence while actively building their own exit ramps. Because while the WNBA is frozen, new leagues are forming. And not quietly. Cunningham herself signed with Project B, a global league offering contracts over $2 million in equity stakes for players. That's more than 8 times what a WNBA Supermax pays. And she's not alone. Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, both vice presidents in the Players Union, are co-founders of Unrivaled, another league that's promising similar paydays and ownership options. And Nneka Agwamike, the president of the WNBPA, also signed with Project B, right after the moratorium began. So, let's put this together. The same union leadership demanding massive changes from the WNBA is simultaneously investing in alternative leagues that could replace it. That's not just conflict of interest, that's betrayal. How are players supposed to trust a negotiation process when their reps are planning a future outside the league? It's chaos, and it's only getting messier. The league has completely stalled at a moment that should have been a breakthrough. Caitlyn Clark didn't just join the WNBA, she supercharged it. She brought in a new generation of fans, sparked national conversations, and made people care in a way they hadn't before. And what did the league do? Hit pause. And while they argue behind closed doors, fans are losing patience. Season ticket holders are requesting refunds. Small businesses near arenas are raising alarms about lost revenue. Grassroots campaigns are calling out both sides, demanding someone, anyone, step up and resolve this. Because the momentum is slipping, and once it's gone, it doesn't come back easy. Cunningham's comments hit a nerve because they came with receipts. She pointed to the veteran leadership. She pointed to the lack of media coverage around breakout stars. She pointed to the new leagues offering more opportunity and transparency. And then she backed it up by walking away from the WNBA's empty promises. And here's where the league looks especially out of touch. While Project B and Unrivaled are offering pay, equity, and global exposure, the WNBA is still trying to argue that a $5 million cap is forward-thinking. It's not. It's insulting, especially when the data is clear. Viewership is up, merch is up, and interest in women's basketball has never been higher. Caitlyn Clark didn't just bring eyeballs. She brought a market shift. And some of the league's most powerful players? They responded with cold shoulders and strategic silence. That's not just jealousy, it's bad leadership. At its core, this isn't just about Clark or Cunningham or any individual player. It's about who gets to define the future of women's basketball. Is it the old guard clinging to control, or the new generation demanding a seat at the table and a share of the revenue? Right now, the WNBA looks like it's trying to do both. And in the process, it's doing neither. You can't promote growth while punishing the players responsible for it. You can't celebrate record-breaking viewership while underpaying the people driving it. And you definitely can't lead a players' union while simultaneously building the exit strategy for your own departure. Fans aren't stupid. They see it. They're talking about it. And Sophie Cunningham just made it impossible to ignore. So what happens next? If the WNBA keeps stalling, it risks losing more than players. It's going to lose public trust. And in a league built on community, representation, and visibility, that trust is everything. This should have been a Renaissance moment. Instead, it's a warning sign. If you're tired of the dysfunction, tell us what you think. Was Sophie Cunningham right to speak out? Are veteran leaders protecting progress or protecting themselves? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this if you're done with the silence. And share this with someone who's been following the drama. And hit subscribe, because this battle for the future of women's basketball, it's only just begun. And now, with the league suspended in silence, the players stuck in professional purgatory, and fans watching from the sidelines in disbelief, there's one question hanging in the air like a storm cloud nobody wants to acknowledge. What is the WNBA doing? Because let's be honest, it's not just Sophie Cunningham asking that question anymore. Her podcast may have fired the first public shot, but the ripple effect hasn't stopped. From locker rooms to fan forums to group chats between agents and execs, the same sentiment keeps coming up. Why does it feel like the people in charge are scared of success? That might sound harsh, but look at the facts. Caitlyn Clark walks into the league and turns everything upside down in the best way possible. Packed arenas, national headlines, new fans tuning in who've never watched a women's basketball game before. It's not hype, it's real. But then you look at the reaction from the league's own infrastructure, from the social team to the official coverage to the players' union. And what do you get? Awkward silences, bare minimum recognition, cold on-court interactions that make highlight packages feel more like surveillance footage than celebration reels. It's not subtle, and fans aren't blind. That tension between the veterans and the new wave isn't just rumor mill drama. It's showing up in the footage, in the media coverage, and in the business decisions being made behind closed doors. And when Sophie Cunningham said veterans were sabotaging the league's progress out of jealousy, well, a lot of people nodded their heads. And if you think that's just messy player politics, think again. This has massive consequences. The entire league is paralyzed. The CBA expired on January 9th. The moratorium went full freeze by January 17th. And still, no movement, no deals, no trades, no plans. Just silence, tension, and a league trying to play chicken with its own future. At the core of the standoff, money. The WNBA wants a 30% cut of gross revenue and a $10.5 million salary cap, something that would finally bring elite players closer to seven-figure contracts. And frankly, with the league's current visibility and momentum, that ask isn't outrageous. If anything, it feels overdue. But the league's counter was a 70% share of net revenue, a much smaller pie, sliced only after expenses like travel, marketing, and expansion costs. Under their model, the salary cap would start at just $5 million. So, while on the surface it sounds generous, we're offering 70%. In practice, it's peanuts compared to what the players are asking for. The result? A complete stalemate, with fans, teams, and the game itself caught in the middle. And now, more and more top players are deciding not to wait it out. Sophie Cunningham already made her move. She signed with Project B, a new global league offering not just higher pay, but equity, investment, and long-term financial stakes. And she's not the only one. Nneka Ogwumike, the president of the WNBA, joined Project B too. Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, both union VPs, co-founded Unrivaled, another league promising similar incentives and freedom. So now, we're watching the top decision-makers within the union, the people who are supposed to be fighting for a better deal within the WNBA, actively building and joining competing leagues that bypass the WNBA entirely. That's not reform. That's exit strategy. And that's why Cunningham's words hit as hard as they did. Because she wasn't just calling out bad negotiation tactics. She was exposing a crack in the foundation. A fracture between leadership and reality. A split between those clinging to control and those demanding evolution. And you can feel the frustration mounting everywhere. Ticket buyers are starting to ask for refunds. Local business owners near arenas are wondering if they should even bother prepping for the season. Coaches and general managers? Powerless to make moves. They can't plan a season when they don't even know who's going to be eligible to play in it. Meanwhile, fans are watching the one moment women's basketball finally had the world attention slowly slip away. Let's not forget, Clark didn't just bring in attention. She changed the demographic. More men watching, more kids, more diverse audiences, more merchandise sales. She brought in the kind of commercial viability the league's been craving for decades. And instead of leaning in, the league leaned out. Muted coverage, passive promotion, an almost allergic reaction to the fact that a new generation is hungry for something different. And that's where the real problem lies. Because the game is changing. Younger players are marketing savvy, social media fluent, brand aware. They understand that modern sports is about more than stats. It's about storylines, identity, access, and entertainment. And instead of adapting to that reality, some of the league's power brokers are trying to drag things back to a model that no longer works. One where everything is centralized, controlled, closed off. But that's not the world anymore. And fans know it. So when the WNBA tries to hold back players like Caitlyn Clark or slow down negotiations while their own leadership signs elsewhere, it doesn't just look bad. It looks hypocritical. You can't tell fans you're building something sustainable while gutting the momentum that would actually make that sustainability possible. You can't claim player empowerment while punishing the players who are finally seizing real power. You can't talk about progress while enforcing a freeze. And Sophie Cunningham wasn't just mad. She was done. Done watching old power dynamics choke out opportunity. Done pretending everything was fine. Done waiting for the league to catch up while new ventures were already zooming past. And honestly, fans are starting to feel the same. People don't want to hear about process and negotiation stages when the only thing they can see is a frozen league, frustrated players, and stars like Clark being undercut by their own teammates and institutions. The hashtag #SaveOurSeason didn't come out of nowhere. It came from fans seeing what's happening and not seeing enough being done to stop it. Because let's face it, this was supposed to be the year. The breakout, the shift, the moment women's basketball went from niche to mainstream. But now, it's being buried under power plays and internal sabotage. And if the people in charge don't change course, they won't just lose a season. They'll lose a generation of fans, of talent, of trust. Because what Sophie Cunningham exposed isn't just a problem to be solved. It's a reality that needs to be faced head-on, with urgency, and humility, and accountability. The game has changed. The fans have changed. The business has changed. The WNBA can either get with it or get left behind. And here's the real kicker. For all the drama that's played out in press statements, interviews, and half-hearted social media posts, no one from league leadership has truly answered the most obvious question of all. If the WNBA finally has the audience, the stars, and the momentum, why is it acting like it doesn't? That's what makes this entire freeze so maddening. Caitlyn Clark isn't a hypothetical. She's not some marketing gamble or overhyped prospect. The numbers are here. The revenue is already moving. The viewership has already tripled. The merchandise is flying off shelves. We're not waiting for a spark. It's already on fire. And the league's response? A moratorium. A leadership team too fractured or too stubborn to capitalize on the moment. Veteran players more focused on preserving status than celebrating progress. Union leaders investing in other leagues while supposedly negotiating for this one. It's dysfunction dressed in the language of diplomacy. And fans are over it. Because let's be real, people are watching Caitlyn Clark get iced out of the league's own coverage while veteran players show her more side-eye than defense. They're watching Sophie Cunningham get crucified by certain corners of the internet for simply telling the truth. And they're watching the league sit on its hands while competing ventures sign away its future talent. What exactly are we doing here? This isn't 2002. There's no excuse for treating generational stars like liabilities just because they arrived through a different door. Clark didn't inherit her spotlight. She earned it, game after game, breaking records, packing arenas, shifting the cultural conversation about women's sports. And instead of building around that moment, some people want to contain it. Why? Ego. The uncomfortable truth is there are players, many of whom helped keep the WNBA alive during tougher times, who now feel displaced by this sudden boom. And instead of embracing a rising tide that could lift everyone, they're trying to build dams. Lock the doors. Gatekeep the moment. And that's the exact thing Sophie Cunningham called out. On her own time. On her own platform. With no filter and no PR team running interference. She looked around, saw the league trying to dim the very stars that were keeping it alive, and said enough. Her decision to join Project B wasn't some petty exit. It was a vote of no confidence. And she's not the only one casting that vote. The fact that Nneka Ogwumike, Brianna Stewart, and Nafisa Collier, literally the faces of the players' union, have already built or joined alternative leagues is not a side note. It's the headline. The very people who were supposed to be negotiating the future of the WNBA are actively betting on a different future. You can't have it both ways. You can't build your own escape plan while claiming to lead movement. You can't demand loyalty from other players while handing your own power to rival leagues. You can't freeze an entire sport just to win a bargaining chip you've already walked away from behind the scenes. And that's where the WNBA has completely lost control of the narrative. Because now, the players who aren't in the inner circle, they're looking around and realizing they've been left holding the bag. They've trusted this leadership group to fight for them, only to find out they've been building lifeboats while telling everyone else to stay on the ship. And if you're a young, talented player trying to plan your future right now, what are you supposed to think? The CBA is expired. The league is frozen. Your own union reps are signing with other leagues. And the most marketable rookie the league has ever seen is being treated like a threat instead of an asset. It's insanity. Meanwhile, fans are stuck watching highlight reels from 6 months ago, wondering when, or if, they'll get to see their favorite players suit up this year. People have already started demanding ticket refunds. Sponsors are hesitant. The media is circling, waiting for the next player to speak up. And through all of it, the silence from league leadership is deafening. Every single day this goes unresolved is another opportunity lost, another headline wasted, another fan turned away, because people are tired of being asked to support a league that won't even support itself. This isn't just a contract dispute. It's an identity crisis. What kind of league does the WNBA want to be? Is it going to be the kind of place that finally embraces its stars and grows with them, paying them, promoting them, trusting them to lead? Or is it going to be the kind of league that lets old politics strangle new possibilities? Right now, it's leaning toward the second option. And Sophie Cunningham made that crystal clear. And here's the wildest part. She's probably saying what dozens of other players are thinking, but are too scared to say. Because let's not forget, this league doesn't exactly have a history of rewarding dissent. Speak out too loudly, and suddenly your minutes drop. Your endorsements dry up. You get labeled difficult. The machine keeps running, but without you. But that's changing. The silence is breaking. Sophie was the first voice. Others will follow. Because at the end of the day, everyone can see what's happening. The WNBA has a golden opportunity on its hands, and it's choking. All the pieces are there. The talent, the market, the audience, the media attention, the cultural relevance. Everything the league said it needed to take the next step has arrived. But instead of running through the door, it's arguing over who gets to hold the keys. And the door? It's closing. Other leagues are not just waiting, they're building. Project B and Unrivaled are handing out contracts, equity, and creative control. They're offering players what the WNBA still treats like a dream. Real money, real power, and real respect. And if the WNBA doesn't move quickly, it's going to wake up one day and realize it handed its future over, piece by piece, to competitors who simply believe players deserve better. So what happens next? That's up to the players still waiting, the fans still watching, and the executives who, for better or worse, are steering this thing right now. They can double down on old power structures, freeze out new stars, and gamble that fans won't leave. Or they can wake up, face the reality in front of them, and rebuild this league into something that actually reflects where the sport is headed, not where it's been. But they don't have forever. They don't even have months. They have days, maybe weeks, because the court is empty. The fans are restless. And the players? They're already looking elsewhere. Let us know where you stand. Is Sophie Cunningham the truth teller the WNBA needed? Or is this just a bigger mess waiting to explode? Should the WNBA leadership be held accountable for these conflicts of interest? Should Caitlyn Clark be promoted more? Or is the league right to be cautious? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this if you're done watching the league fumble a layup. Share it with someone who needs to see what's really going on. And subscribe, because if this story is any indication, we're just getting started.